Hi everyone. Thanks for joining this workshop. Yeah, as you know, recently we started doing workshops in addition to our regular meetups. Uh, Good to have you all here. And so today we have a workshop on Playwright. Aditya will be walking us through how to do end-to-end testing with Playwright. And Aditya is a senior front-end engineer at Razorpay, and he contributes a lot to open source and he shares a lot of content. That's how I came to know about his research on the testing. So he was sending a couple of interesting tweets about Playwright, and I reached out to him and asked why not present this as a workshop, and he agreed to present this as a workshop. So yeah, even Playwright is new for me. Looking forward to learning a lot more about Playwright and how to use in the testing in this workshop. So without any further ado, I'll hand it over to Aditya.
Hey
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Maybe you can share your screen.
yeah. So I'll just quickly go over the agenda for today. So first we'll understand like what is end-to-end testing, what are the different tools that lets us do end-to-end testing, and why Playwright is a good choice among them. Then I'll walk you through a demo project that I had built, and then we'll start writing tests for them. We'll set up Playwright from scratch. Then we'll learn some terminology of them. And then we learn about their CLI tools, their extensions, all the other DX tools that they provide. And then if time permits, we'll explore more things there. Cool. So first of all, what is end-to-end testing? So I think many people will be familiar, but I'll still like give a rough idea. End-to-end testing means that you are testing from the perspective of a user, and there is no mocking going on. You are actually opening the browser, you are actually going to your website. It is actually hitting the APIs that your service, your app is deployed. And if there are some microservices, they are most probably they are also getting hit. So it's like testing your entire system from the perspective of the user. uh, how it is different from unit testing. In unit testing, you are testing at one layer, at the unit or integration layer. We are testing at one layer. It's like either we are testing just the front end app, so all the APIs are mocked, or we are just testing one function, so everything else, like we are just providing inputs and it is giving the return value, and we are testing that. And at the API level, there are integration tests where just hit the API, database interaction happens and give the response. So those are unit test, integration test. Whereas end-to-end test, entire system gets getting tested in one go. Now, of course, the what are the advantages here? The one thing is that uh, your React application, you are asserting that it is rendering to the JS DOM properly in your integration tests. But do you know if it is actually rendering in the browser correctly? Is your Webpack build going through correctly? Is your API responding to the same contract that you had initially discussed? And these things keep changing, right? So end-to-end tests ensure that what actually gets delivered to the user, that is under test. So yeah, now the disadvantage is that since you're testing your entire system, the infrastructure cost is pretty high. So you can't really test lot of gnarly details. What you try to test is that a breadth of your system, and main cases you try to test, and not like each and every edge case there. For those, you use integration test and unit test. So couple of frameworks that are there in end-to-end test ecosystem is one is WebDriver IO, and Cypress is also pretty popular. And then Puppeteer was also introduced some time back. So WebDriver IO is like, I have actually a diagram here. So this is how WebDriver IO works, that you have your application, then there is a browser, and then there is a WebDriver. And WebDriver IO sends signals to that driver, and that driver controls the entire app. So this thing is like pretty standard. Even Selenium runs through this architecture, and each browser has its own driver. Now, this has a couple of advantages, but what I found in personal testing was that it was a little slower. And because so many systems are interacting with each other, it was a little like, not that performant that I felt like. Yeah. Similarly, there is Cypress. So Cypress works like this, where there is a Cypress runner, then there's a browser, and the actual tests that you write, that is actually executing in the page. It's not like you are sending the tests are sending signal to the browser. Instead, the test actually runs in the browser itself, and your application that gets rendered inside an iframe. So and then after the test results, those are communicated back to the runner so that it can be outputted on the CLI, etc. So of course, there are advantages to this. Your test is running very close to the actual app, but because the application is rendered inside a iframe, there are trade-offs as well. Uh, so I won't go into that much detail here, but I can share a link to some research that I did with the pros and cons of these things. Now let's come to Playwright, like how that works. So in Playwright, it is using a API that initially was provided by Chrome. It is called the DevTools protocol. So engineers at Chrome figured out that for debugging, we already are offering Chrome this DevTools protocol. How about we use that for testing as well? So that's how first they made Puppeteer. Then that Puppeteer team, for some reasons, they left Google and then they joined Microsoft, and there they worked on Playwright. So Playwright works on the same principles of Puppeteer, but while Puppeteer just stopped at automating the browser, Playwright offers a full suite of tools to run your test, to so it makes it a full end-to-end testing framework. Like it has assertions and all that. So that is Playwright. Yeah, let me show you the project that we will be testing. So this is the open source library I'm working on, which offers a command palette to the users. And since there are complex interactions going on, I thought this will be a good project to showcase the benefits of end-to-end test. Because since so many parts are interacting, it would be hard to test these things in a unit test properly. The other thing here is that this application is using a little different tools, like it is using Solid.js instead of React.js, and it is also using Vite for bundling. It is not using Webpack. So because of these reasons, the tooling, I was not able to make it work. Like solid testing library is there, just like we have React testing library, there is a solid testing library, but I was not able to make it work. And here is the benefit of end-to-end test. It doesn't matter if your if Jest is not properly supporting Solid.js or not. If Solid.js can ship an application to the browser, your end-to-end tools can make it work. It doesn't matter which framework you are using, which bundler you are using, anything. So yeah, so I'll show you a couple of interactions here. One is that I can increment counter here. If I press a keyboard shortcut, that will increment counter. If I go to the command palette, which I invoke from command K, if I open this, then if I can select actions, I click this happens. If I'm clicking here, then this unmute audio action will be triggered. If I click it, it toggles it. And yeah, these are a couple of actions. If I say GH, then it will go to GitHub and all that. So this is the website. Cool. I have some end-to-end tests written in that project. I will first just show you how like those running, and then we will write tests from scratch also. So I have this extension installed called so this is an official extension by Microsoft. It is a pretty new extension, and the developer experience here is just awesome. So here, see, I have the test. I can run it, and it will let me show this reveal in test explorer. So here are all my tests. If I just click it, it will run, and I can open it in headed mode. So I'll explain headed and headless mode a little later. Let's just see how it looks in the browser. So it opens the browser, it is going to demo page, and then it is doing something. So this is one thing. If I put, so what I can do is that I can put await page.locator, and I'll just pause on it. Oh, sorry, I didn't run debug test. Okay, so you can see it paused here. And if I open this one, the count has incremented to 1. So what happened was that Playwright, this test run, it went to demo page, then it opened the command palette, then it found that action, it found the this action, and then it clicked that action, and after that it checked that this text that is there, it is now 1. So here's pretty cool thing. If I select here, it will show me like even before, like it knows which thing I have selected on my editor, and it will highlight in the actual website that this is the text you have selected. If I click here, it will show this text that you have selected. I can even do this, that I can come here, I can select new things. Like I want to know, I want to select this heading. So I can say text equals to controlling, and it will show me this. So I want to select this button, I can say text equals to increment count, and it will select that. And to make it more specific, I can say button, and then inside it I want the text, so it is only selecting this one. So you'll notice that if I don't have the button, then it is saying this is the first thing, but there is also this thing that is getting selected. So to make my to make my selector more specific, I can add this button thing. The other thing you will notice is that I didn't even save the file. I can you can see the DX benefit here, that uh, I have the page open, I can pause it, and I can do anything I want here, uh, and it will run. So let's see what other, and what I'll do is that instead of here, I'll pause the page, pause from the starting. Okay, and then we'll rerun this. And I'll just move this part. Cool. So it is paused here. Let me just bring them side by side. So here it is. I'll go forward. I open this. It opens the trigger palette. It is showing me that this content is selected. I go through that. Then it is selecting, it is 1. And then it is done. So that browser got closed. So let's see what other test is doing. Sorry, not this one. So here, if I want to see the test is very fast. There is a slow-mo mode to show things in slowly. Let's see if this works. So this is the place. So this is a config file, and here we have the projects. Like we can say, I want to run on desktop, Chrome, Firefox, and all that, and the extension picks it from there. Does it have a launch options? Yes, it has. And I want to say slow-mo, and slow-mo 50. Yeah, so let's just decrease the speed a little more, 150, and then we run. So you can see it is searching for the text. So uh, so what is happening is that first we open the palette, then we are typing GitHub, and then we are checking if the search bar has that text. And then it is checking that only one option should be visible. Okay, with the options sum, we are checking if only one is visible. And then we are also checking that the first option that is there, it should have this content, go to GitHub repo. Cool. So this is how our test looks in Playwright. The one more thing is that Playwright has two things. One is the library and one is the test runner. So if you go in their docs, you will often see this part that some code will look like this, where they are requiring Playwright and then they are launching a browser and then going to the page. So this is the library. Suppose you are not using it for testing, or you are testing but you don't want to use their test runner, you want to use Jest, or there is some other test runner that you want to use. So then you can just use the library. But otherwise they have a CLI runner, Playwright test, and this is the recommendation to always use this if you are going for testing. And this has like so many features, like, and we'll explore those. So this gets a page instance in the arguments, and then you don't have to require Playwright, you don't have to create a new browser, you don't have to create context and all that. It does everything by itself. And this tool gives us the test and the assertion thing. So we don't have to set up Jest or anything. Yeah, so this is like a little thing that confused me when I was learning Playwright, that why is there two separate type of code. I hope this clears your confusion if you explore the docs. Okay, so what else? Yeah, let's set up a new project. So this is the command npm init Playwright and then whatever project name. If you omit this part, then whichever folder you are in, it will set up Playwright in that. But we want a new folder. So it is asking if we want to write code in TypeScript, write tests in TypeScript. So yes, we want to. And even if your application is not written in TypeScript, you can still write your end-to-end test in TypeScript. It sets up its own tooling for everything, so you don't have to set up anything extra. So yes, I want to run tests TypeScript, and I want to place this in E2E folder. And yes, I want a GitHub action. It will be running. Actually, someone is at my door. I'll just come in a second. Okay. Hey folks. sorry, delivery folks, like they know the timing. Cool. So Playwright is set up. Here's how we can run a test. So I'll just use this one first. So first I'll go to the Playwright Workshop folder and I'll run this. So you can see it is running some tests. Let's see the open this folder as well. So this is a new project. There's an end-to-end test folder that it set up, and this is the spec file that it has auto-generated. And there is a Playwright report. Let's see. So when we ran the test, it ran 75 tests using 3 workers, and it was running on Firefox, Chromium, and WebKit. And in total, 75 passed. And we can even see the report if I say this command. So it will open the browser. This is the report. And it will even have this thing like how much time it took to execute this line. So if it fails, then also this is pretty useful to know exactly which line has failed. It also detects whether the test was flaky or not. So this is the main thing. So I'll just init this. Okay, so let's see what else it set up. So there is a Playwright config file. It is importing this. This is also TypeScript. It is importing this type from here, and it is importing the devices. Folder we are saying E2E, and how much time it takes for one test, so we can increase if our site is taking a longer time, and how much for an assertion should wait for. And it's one thing you might have seen is that in test you can say test dot only. So that might be you are doing for local testing, but you don't want that in CI. So we are saying forbid that, don't allow it if we are in CI. We can configure retries, how many parallel workers we want to use, which reporter we want, and yeah. And this is the projects which I already told, like you can say Chromium, you can say Firefox, you can say mobile browser. Like if we see instead of this, if I say devices and I put here, this is showing all the devices that it supports. Now this, since we are essentially just running in the in our operating system only, this is Mac. So it is not actually going to the device. This is just emulating the viewport, and it is emulating the user agent. Nothing more than that. So we can see here. And these things you might have seen when you enable mobile mode in your browser. That time also you can choose when you go here and you say mobile. So you get all these. So it is similar to this one. So I can say Galaxy Asset Landscape. And if I go here, so you can see what all things it might have configured: user agent, viewport, device scale factor, touch. Does it have touch or not? So those kind of things. I'll just undo this. And so earlier when I ran, so when I earlier ran this, I ran in it totally executed in 75 tests. That because it is running in 3 projects. So I can say no, I am just locally, I just want to test on Chromium. So I can say project Chromium, and instead of 75, now it is only 25 tests are running. And instead of HTML reporter, let me just change the reporter to So this is that reporter. Yeah, I don't want HTML reporter. I just want a, so here I just want line reporter. Actually, let me show one more thing. I can also say I just want to, what things I want to run. So I can say that I just want to run test. Where is this example? So should allow me to add to-do items. I can just say I just want to run this test. So it knows, okay, this is the test it needs, and it runs that one. Or I can just run it from here. So yep, that is passing. Cool. So let's delete this test and write a new test from scratch. So the first test I want to write is that, and instead of prod version, I'll just open the localhost version that I have run. So here I come. And before testing the command palette, let's just test a counter. So I click button, it shows this count. Okay, let's just test this part. So I'll make a new test file, demo page.spec.ps. And I need to import some things from Playwright. So I say test and expect from Playwright test. And what I like to do is that I like to make a top level describe. So this is like a grouping for all your tests. So I'll say demo test basic interactions on demo page. So this I'll make one new test, and here I'll say test. Let me keep the name consistent. Should be able to increment count. So this is just the test thing. For to interact with the page, we need to destructure the page object that comes here. Now, once this is here, we can say page.goto. And here we have to specify URL. So here I'll say demo. Now, if I am using relative route, I need to provide a base URL. So I think it is, yeah, base URL is here, and I'll say localhost. So this is the one. And one thing that happens quite often is that many of these things are asynchronous. So you need to put a await on that. So that is one thing that I also get, I mistake that part. So I just hover and need to see the return value. Let's see some old tests. Yeah, so page does need. I don't know why it didn't show that part. Normally for every return, everything it shows like, is it a promise or not? Yeah, but as an example, it is showing that, yeah, it is showing. Okay, go to is showing that it's a promise. So you get await here. So then we will say that we just want to pause on this page. Right? And if I run here, this will just like, I don't think it page.pause will do anything here. If I do debug, I don't think this will also do anything. Yeah, so one way I like to do this, so this extension is pretty new. The normal way I used to run when I'm writing a new test, this is how I used to do. npx playwright test, and project will be Chromium, and the test I want to run is this one. I forgot to pass debug. So it opens this tool and it pauses there. So right now you can see nothing is happening. I will say I want to move to the next step. So it brings me here. So now I can see this page and let me just mess with Zoom a little bit. Yeah, so right now I'm on pause and you can see there are a bunch of tools available here. This happened because we added this debug flag. So when I did this, it opened the browser and here I can see this explore button. When I click this, now I can interact with the page and I can select, okay, this is the text increment count. I can copy it or I can keep exploring. Okay, so this is how it is selecting. And we can target these things also. And then there is a recorder. So wait. I'll show this once more. I think, yeah, I think the recorder will go in the end. First, I need to show the other things. So that is one way. The other way is that we can just come here and we can just pause it. And then we'll open it in debug mode. Cool. So this is here and we want to select this button. So I'll just go here. I'll say page.locator. And now I need to select this. So as I showed earlier, I need a button. Now it will select all the buttons. Right now there is only one button on the page. Had I said a tag, then it would have showed all the links. And first one is blue, the other is yellow. So since we have by default Playwright, there is a strict mode that is enabled. When that happens, your locator should point to only one thing. If it is pointing to multiple things, it will error. This way, in case your test was wrongly selecting a DOM node, it will catch. So yeah, so instead we want a button, and to be more specific, we say the button which has the text equals to increment count. So this is there, and then we'll click it. Cool. So let's see if I go to this line. What happened? I'll just pause on this line. Wait, page.locator. Yeah, you can see the button got clicked, it is showing 1. So let's write an assertion that the text is now 1. So I'll come here, I'll say expect, and I want page.locator, and I want a strong tag. Right now it is showing multiple, and we want the one which has text equals to 1. So now it will say this one, and we'll just say that we want this to be visible. Okay, and you will see that since this thing, like we are doing the to be visible, it expects a await here. Okay, so basically this thing we need to know that which kind of assertion we are using. That like if I'm just saying that expect to be 3, then there is no need for await. And if I even put await, the VS Code will tell that await is not needed here, but here it is needed. because the assertion is basic to be visible, and this requires asynchronicity. So yeah, this is one thing. So let's just run this test. Now that we have an assertion, let's just remove everything and just see. So I'll just run the test again now, and this is I'm running in normal mode. So yeah, it passed, and it is showing the time it took for everything. So page load, it took 292 milliseconds. Then to click this, it took this much. Then so let's run once more. Yeah, so this is the time it took for everything. What else we can do? So the other thing is that this locator part, let me just put it in another variable. So I'll just say increment button, or better, let's just say this one, increment button, and I'll say page dot locator. And this you will see. So I'm using this VS Code feature called inlay hints, and it is telling me the return value. So this is telling me that, yeah, this increment button is a locator, and I'll just put locator. Yeah, and here I can, instead of this, I can say dot click. So this is an important thing, that this locator, this doesn't actually find the DOM node. This is just a just an instruction to tell Playwright, hey, in future, if you need to find this increment button, here is the selector that you can use. But when this line is executed, at that point, the DOM node is not located. In the next line, when we are seeing increment button locator dot click, this click part, when this click is executed, it will say, okay, which thing I want to execute click on. It will say, okay, this is the locator, and it will see the selector, and it will find that selector and then click it. And since this finding part is asynchronous, so we need a await here. So to get the locator, we don't need await. For this we need. And one more thing, if so what is this strong DOM node? Yeah, as so when we, this thing we'll cover in more detail when we write the second test. What else is here? So yeah, let's just look at the terminology. So I have went into a lot of words here. So I explained the describe and what the test is doing. Page, I told you, like, this is a reference to your page, and you can go to a URL, you can find DOM nodes on it, you can interact with it. Each page, you can, in the page, you can locate elements with the locator, and then you can interact with this thing with click. So you can see all that is available. So dot, you can see count, drag. If you want to fill an input field, you can use fill. So yeah, enabled or disabled. So these things are there. And when you want to assert, so you can say await, expect, you can put your locator here, and then you will see all the assertions that are available. So to be defined, to be greater than. So this might be looking very familiar to you with Jest, and they are also using the the same assertion library that Jest uses. So yeah, you can match snapshots, match text, you can match value, input value, and all those things. So this is one test. This is the GitHub action it created. So let's just commit this part. Cool. So let's pause for some questions now. Kiran, right now, are there any questions?
No, not yet. I will ask once again.
Yeah.
Saurabh says the reporting is very good.
Oh, yeah. There are some tools that I'll show now. Those are also really great.
Yeah, even I like the DX part, the Chrome extension. I think very handy when we are writing tests, right?
Yeah, and so I think they launched it last week. I have only tried it yesterday, so but it was so cool that I had to show it.
Man, you're
uh,
super fast actually.
yeah, so and it was easy. So one nice thing is that they show these features on YouTube. Like they have a proper demo sessions where they
Mhm.
go over all these new features. So it was easy to learn that way. Otherwise, it would have been hard to figure out.
Got it, got it. Yeah. I mean, how old is the Playwright? I mean, I started hearing about Playwright just recently,
I think it is one or 2 years, not more than that.
and it will take some time to get established and to start for the people to start talking about it, right?
Yeah. One thing is that since it is backed by Microsoft, and this team is the one that made Puppeteer, so
Yeah,
that way it is helpful.
yeah.
But yeah, even in Razorpay, we have evaluated and we are going ahead with this, but we'll tell like how it goes once we start using it in production.
So, what are you using right now? Are you using Cypress or
I
are you
think
using?
right now Selenium tests are there.
Okay, okay. I remember Flipkart is also using the Selenium only. I think a lot of people use Selenium because of
Yeah,
its
it's
it's
yeah.
old. Yeah,
So also one thing, random thing that Playwright, it supports Node.js, Python, Java, and .NET. So it's not just for JavaScript.
got it. So we
Yeah.
have one question.
Hmm.
Uh, how does Playwright support for websites which doesn't have good accessibility?
Yeah. So if you don't have good accessibility, then either you can put test IDs on it. So I'll show you select. This is a good point. So these are all the kind of selectors that you can use in Playwright. So the normal things like many people would have done is that XPath selector is there, or you can use CSS selector. Although I would recommend like you can use tag names for if you have semantic markup. If you don't have, then I would recommend that you use test IDs. So explicitly put whichever thing you want to interact with, put a test ID, this attribute on that element, data test ID, any of these will do, and then select that. These are the best practices though, that you should prioritize user facing attributes. So something that is visible to the user, like the text of a button, or what is the placeholder there, or a ARIA label. But yeah, as you said, if accessibility. So one more thing is that if you are writing these tests, it will also push you to at least add basic things on the website. Like you don't need every like fully accessible combo box, but suppose if you can just put a label on that button, like if the icon button is there, if you can put a label on that, that way it will help. Otherwise you have to use test id, or you have to put css selector, which can break. There are some some selectors are since they could, so they did. Like there are react selectors where you can say this is the component name, right? Like I think this only works if you ship your source maps or something. But still, like there are wild selectors here. This is one which is like based on layout, that you can say this thing, the button which is right side of this, and I think it uses bounding client. So it compares the xy position, and that way it finds the, so like button near a promo card. Some wild things here.
Yeah, but they also make test flaky little bit, right?
Yeah, I would not recommend these ones. I prefer like text selector, like attribute with text, that and aria label or those things. So yeah, that I prefer. And most most times it works. Sometimes like there are cases where I need to add test IDs, and
Got it.
if I'm in a hurry, then I might use a CSS class name or something. Yeah, so they also mentioned don't use this. This breaks very easily.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's continue with the workshop then.
Yes.
Yeah, so cool. So next test that we want to write is that when we click this button, then this gets toggled, and yeah, main thing is that this gets toggled. Okay, so let's just write that test. So one thing is that I again want to go to the demo page only. So instead of repeating that, I can say test dot before each, and I can move this await part here. And since this is await, I need to put async here. So yeah, now I don't need to, and since this is this also needs page. So overall, they avoid using globals. Instead of that, each thing gets a scoped version of page and everything. So yeah, now should be able to toggle mute. So here, what I want is this muted. And if I see that this is the label, and then there inside it, there is the audible text. So I'll make this locator, and this will be what am I calling it here? Yeah, so unmute locator, and I'll say page dot locator. What happened? I was like, why the prediction is not coming? So yeah, page dot locator, and here I'll say label, which has text audible. And one thing to note is that only when I click, then the muted label comes. But still, I can say that I want to locate. I can upfront, I can make a locator and I can say muted. Okay. And it will not cause a problem, even though I know that both of these locate DOM nodes won't be there at the same time. Still, I can make a locator because, as I told earlier, locator is just a instruction. It doesn't actually find the DOM node. So now I come here and I can do something with the unmute locator. I can say that I want to check it, mark it checked, and internally this you will see that it is a checkbox. So if I have a semantic proper element, then I can use this words, like use these actions. If I didn't had it, then I would have to use click or something. So yeah, here I have a semantic element. So I'll mark it checked, and let's just see did it got checked or not. So uh, I'll say expect uh, and to be checked, and yeah, so to be checked, it says it's a promise. So since it's a promise, I need to add a await here. What happened? Oh, right, because the function is not async. Cool. So let's just run this test. Something didn't work. So yeah, because the check, this thing is also a promise. So yeah, this thing is like one thing you have to familiarize yourself with, that almost everything would have a await. So I normally what I do is that I add a await to everything, and then when VS Code tells me that hey, this line doesn't require an await, then I remove it.
Doesn't it go the other way around, in the sense, if you miss the await, doesn't it warn you about the missing await?
So it doesn't know that, like, I am not sure like it can be implemented or not, but here my assumption was that it doesn't know that you want to wait on it or not. Like
Okay.
you can make a API call, but it could be that you don't want to wait on it. It's just a background call. So maybe that, or it, I think ESLint level we could enforce that if it's a promise, it should have a wait. Maybe that way it could be enforced.
Got it.
Right.
Also, we might be chaining, and we might have an await in future, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that is also a
Not. Yeah.
possibility, right? So yeah, maybe for those reasons, yeah. So what happened this time? So waiting for selector label text equals to audible. Yeah. So here's the thing. Now that when I checked it, that text got changed, right? So this is not audible anymore. It is now muted. So if I try to check this unmute locator, it doesn't. It is not present there anymore. So what I need to use is mute locator. So this mute locator will give me the check. Yeah, this is passing. And if I remove this await, I think it will again start failing. What happened? So I think it's the timing thing that the checking, not sure why it is still passing, but yeah, a wait is needed. Cool. So the other thing is that instead of the labels, what I could have done is that what is this input type equals to checkbox. Let's see if that works. If I make a checkbox locator, so I can say input type equals to checkbox, and I can just check that, and I can say that it should be checked. Yeah, so you will see it is waiting for a long time. What happened there? I'll explain in a bit. Let it just time out. So it's trying to perform it, but it is waiting on something. That thing is not completing. Yeah, it didn't happen. So, and it is saying target closed. So here's the execution log here. So it tried to find this DOM node. It found that checkbox, but when it attempted to click, uh, so waiting for element to be these things. Yeah. So one thing is this audible tag. This is intercepting pointer events. So because of that, it is not working. And if I see my implementation here, now I have also forgotten what was the thing. So my assumption here was that because I marked it visually hidden, I think that was the reason. So if I go here, if there is a fourth option, let's just try that. So this was a little tangent, didn't want to go there, but I thought maybe it will work. So let's see. Yeah, this is passing. Cool. So yeah, what wanted to show this basically that all these actions that are there. Uh, so locators.
What does that force do?
Yeah, that. So basically, any whenever you want to interact with something, right? So it does some assertion. It does some checks that only when these things are there, then only it will perform. So if you see check, it will say that these are the things it tests. So this is the actionability part. So these are all the things it tests. So if for the check, it will say that the DOM node should be attached, it should be visible, it should be stable, and it can receive event, and it is enabled. Like disabled attribute is not there. So only when these things are there, it will start. And by stable, it means like if it is animating, it will wait for that DOM node to rest. Like it will see get client bounding rect, and when that value starts stabilizing to a particular value, only then. So that's why the await is useful. So that this line doesn't get executed till these checks are passing. So that is the reason. And I think if I remove await now, this time it should fail. Otherwise, like, yeah, demo gods are I don't know why it's passing. If I remove this, what happens? Yeah, so one thing was there. Yeah, this time finally it failed. So this time, so when we removed force, we are saying that do check for the visibility and all that. So that part takes time, right? Whereas, and we are not awaiting it. So next line is immediately getting invoked and it is saying it is not checked. But as soon as so this thing, then it will start passing. So force is true. So this is one thing. You might need force sometime, especially if you don't have accessibility and all that, you might need this force option. Let's just run this once more. Yeah, so this passes. Although I'll just, since this checkbox is hidden, I don't want to use this option. I'll just use the unmute locator. So I'll go this and and mute locator should be checked. Cool. And just mentioning the implementation. So basically, this is a checkbox. This is hidden. There is a label which has the text, and from solid.js level, we are toggling the content based on the checkbox state. So just to make it accessible, I have made it into a checkbox and hidden the checkbox. So this way, if I come here and I press paste, still it is toggleable. So that was the part of it. What's next? So show CLI runs. So I've already shown the filter feature, and let me just show one more thing. So if I have multiple tests, what I can do is that I can add tags to it. So I can say @flow equals to in nor base, like I can say priority equals to critical, and this one priority is normal. Okay, so now from the CLI, if I want to run a test in Playwright, so test, and then I want to put this priority equals to critical only. So this time I didn't specify project, so it is running this test on all three browsers. But if I say project equals to Chromium, so only one test on one worker, and it is passing. So by default, these tests are running in headless mode. So in headless mode, what happens is it actually connects to the browser. It's just that browser doesn't need to be the browser's GUI, that doesn't need to be opened. So it happens just on the terminal itself. There is no open window. But if I want to open the window that we were doing in debug mode, we can pass headed. So during local, we want the headed mode. So yeah, this time it opened, it showed. Whereas if you were running it on CI, there you don't want a visual browser to open. You just want browser to run on the terminal itself and do everything. So that's what normal headless mode is for. Yeah. So if I say priority instead of priority critical, I can say priority normal, and project, I can say Firefox. So you can see it is opening Firefox. So this part is covered. Cool. So now let's just see one more thing, that I'll add this await page dot pause here. And so this is like we are telling browser do these things and then pause. Okay. And I'll run this test in headed mode on Chromium only. And I will also say that run it in debug mode. Actually, I don't need to provide headed. When it's debug, it knows this is the version. So wait, actually, I just need to run this. Yeah, so what happens is that I ran it in headed mode. I said, I want to run all these things and then I want to pause. So when this pause happened, then this tool opens. So this is what I wanted to show you. So like this is the end state. Many times you want to see the end state, what is happening. So this is what you can see. And I can even record this further. So I can say, I can toggle this again and it will start showing me all these things. So I can increment button and you can see it generated this code, and I can say this is the text. So it is finding the locator for that and clicking that. So suppose let me just clear this, and I want to test that documentation page. If I go and go back to kitchen sink demo and then I click this button, then this text is there or not. So you can see all this it generated. So it found the documentation, it is clicking that, and this is some boilerplate code that they have to avoid race conditions. Some implementation detail for them. Then we are saying kitchen sink demo, we are clicking that. Then page.locator increment count button we are clicking, and then so I clicked on that strong text, so it is clicking that. But what I'm just interested in is the locator, so I can copy this part. So I can just copy this whole thing, and I could run like paste it in my test and do this. So many times you need to tweak this to your requirement. Yeah, the other cool things here is that when you open this with page pause, actually I'm still in recorder mode. Let me exit the recorder. So if I open the console here, I also get this thing, Playwright. Yeah. So this is the object for Playwright, and here I can execute like try certain things of this page. Like I can say Playwright dot dollar, and I can find the button. So text equals to increment button. Oh, sorry, increment count. So it is finding this DOM node, and there are multiple things on this Playwright object. So I can find the selector. So the DOM node. So what I can do is that this button that I selected, I can store it in a global variable, temp1. And suppose I wanted to know the selector for it, so I can say temp1, and it will give me this letter. So suppose I am using this thing to find this heading. So I can come to this letter, I can, and you know that active selection is in $0. This is a browser DevTools feature. So I can come here and say, and it will tell me the selector for it. So there are multiple ways to get your thing here. So this text, that is this label, I can go here, it will say label which has text and true. So yeah, what else? Shown the inspector, showed the debugger, Playwright I showed. Yeah. So let's move on to the next thing. I'll just close this part and commit this. Yeah, so this we have run so far locally, but how do we run this on GitHub Actions? So since that requires pushing and everything, I am just showing you how I've configured it in my project. So I'll go to the GitHub folder, and this workflows, and there's a E2E YAML. So I am saying that run it on deployment status. I'll explain why that is the case in a minute. Then timeout, like this is the time of job. and only run when the deployment status is success. And then this is pretty boilerplate code that check out the repo on this PR, set up node version 14, install everything, install Playwright. Now this is important. So the CI machine, it doesn't have the browsers which Playwright will run on. So we need to install those, and this can be done with this Playwright command. So when you install Playwright, it doesn't automatically install the browsers. That is really good. You can opt into which browser you want. So you can pass, I only want Chrome, I only want WebKit. So here I want to run on all browsers. So I have installed everything. And then I just run the test. This is my command. And let's just see this command also. So test E2E run. So when I'm running locally, I will when I'm running locally, I run on with Playwright test headed, and the project is this. When I'm running on CI, I just run Playwright test. So yeah, so this will run Playwright test, and this is interesting. This is the URL I'm giving it. So right now, when this when the test run, how do against what URL does it test? There is no localhost server running here. On my local, I have a localhost. Who does it test against? So for that, what we are using is Vercel's deployment. So here's how things happen. So so when I make a PR, so I'm using a Vercel application, so it automatically deploys a URL to whatever PR code is. It goes deploys to Vercel, and this is the URL, right? Now and this is using GitHub's deployment feature. So GitHub has this feature where you can create deployments and give them a URL. So that's why I'm listening on the deployment status. And now this event fires multiple times. So when the deployment status is pending, when it is success, and all that. So I'm saying only run when the state is success. And when that happens, from the GitHub, I can pull out the target URL. And then this target URL I'm passing is as an environment variable. Now, if I go to my Playwright config file, I can read that Playwright base URL from this process.env. And once I have the base URL, that is the one I'm passing to my project. So that way on local, I have this URL. On CI, every PR gets its own URL, and all my tests run on that PR. So let me show you it in action. So I'll just push this one. So here I have a bunch of tests. Let me just make a small change, and so you will see that deployment has started, and this one got skipped because right now the deployment is not ready. Once the deployment is complete, then this will run again. Yeah, so deployment has completed. Now end-to-end test, the new this version has queued, and it will run. Is GitHub getting a lot of load or something? Okay, now it has started. So yeah, just install Playwright. You can see there are all these Linux libraries it needs for the browsers. It is downloading, and this typically takes, I think, 3 minutes for this to happen. This is the deployment. So right now nothing has changed as such. So you can see this is a URL which is different from the prod URL. And once this completes, we'll see. Any questions so far on the GitHub action, like how that is working? Okay, I think it ran in 1 minute. Cool. So here you'll see when I run this is the URL it is getting. The one here, this is the one it is getting. And yeah, let's see if test passes. Let's see till it is running. What else can we cover? Cool. So the tests have run. Uh, it found 4 tests to be flaky in WebKit. So this is something that I'll need to fix. And it is reporting some tests are slow. And here's one thing, if I go to summary, then this is the report it has generated. I can download this report. If I open file, yeah, so this is the folder, and I can open this HTML file. So even the CI jobs, those reports I have available. Now I can download it this way, or I can, host it somewhere. I can deploy this to Netlist Vercel also. So this is one. So how does it know that it was flaky? I'll show you, but this is the test passing. And there are some attachments that you can download also. So in this one, when I ran this test, there was a console log I added, so that I get reported. So I can add these things, and I'll also get those things. So nothing is lost. And here, if I run, there is no std out download. Now let's see the flaky test. So how does it identify that the test was flaky? So what happened was that the first time the test failed, and the next time it passed. So when that happens, it tells us that this is a flaky test and you need to fix it. So yeah, so even locally you can make you can tell it that how many retries should be there. So if I come here, so not this one, this Playwright config. So yeah, I have told that if you are running on CI, then retry it one time. Otherwise, if one retry also fails, and I set retries to be 3, then it will try those times also. And what else? And this is the one thing that I've set trace to be on first retry. So it will not generate the trace first time because it is expensive. Only when the test failed and next it is retry, then it will create a trace, and it will and if the test passes, fine, the trace we have available. And let's just download this. Okay, so this is the zip file, and there's a handy URL. So this is also a mind-blowing feature there, that if you download that zip and you open it, upload it here, and this is a PWA, so nothing gets uploaded to the servers, and you can see what happened in your test on CI. So you don't have like a CI run, you don't need a video, you can have your trace and you can see exactly what happened. So one thing you'll notice is that here it is rendering control K, whereas when I open my site here, it is rendering command K. That is because my library handles keyboard shortcuts on multiple platforms. So when it is on Mac, it binds to command K. On other machines like Linux, it binds to control K. So this is one thing. It is the screenshot is helping us that your GitHub action, it is running on a Linux machine. So that's why it is rendering control K. So what else is there? So yeah, this is, I can see what happened. So this is the demo page it visited. This is something else. Then keyboard press happened. It opened the command palette. It found this button, and here you will see that that we are doing a click action here. So before was this. If I click after, it will show this screen. This has become 1, and then I am asserting that this download is 1. So yeah, and you can see the logs, the console, the network, all those things. And all these metadata. So this is the trace, pretty useful. Timing is there, which thing took how much time. Yeah. So all this is the GitHub's part. And I can also, I think, yeah, that artifacts I can set a limit, like for how much time to keep it. And I already told you that we can host the report also, the HTML report, to share with others. So this is GitHub Actions. What else? What else? Cool. Let's write some more advanced tests now. So right now we just tested the normal things on page. Now we will test that they work with the command palette or not. So I'm importing this. I'll just copy this part. Test command, basic instructions on command palette. So yes, I want to go to the demo page only. And what's the thing I want to test? That I should be able to open the palette and execute the first action. So should be able to, and let me keep the priority as critical, should be able to open command palette and run first action. So yeah, how will I run it? So again, I want to first, so I'm already on the page. One thing I know is that the first thing I want to do is that open the palette, and for that there's a keyboard shortcut. So I'll do await page.press. And for keyboard shortcuts, you don't have to create an event, like a keyboard event, and then set command to true or anything. You can just say meta plus K. So it knows that there's a plus sign here. So that means it's a keyboard shortcut. And what is there? So yeah, first page.keyboard.press. Cool. This is there. And Then I just want to, pause on this. So I'll just say page.locator, and I'll just pause here. And so yeah, now since I saved the file, now that thing has started coming, I'll right click and debug test. Cool. So yeah, it opened the command palette correctly. I need to find this action. So I'll come here, I'll say, so I can just select with text also. I can say, oh, increment. So yeah, increment counter by 1. It is finding this DOM node. Yeah. So, and I can also say that it should be inside a thing which has role equals to option. So role equals to option, and that should have this text. Yeah. So this is still finding it. Once I have this node, I can just click it. Let's see if blank line works. I'll stop. I'll retry the test. Looks like blank line doesn't work. Let me just put a page.locator. Cool. So we can see that it opened the command palette, it found the download, and it clicked, and that's why this value is 1. So let's just see, let's just assert that this is indeed the value is 1. So I'll come here, expect, and page.locator, and I'll just say a strong tag which has text equals to 1, and that should be visible. And I'll put a await here. So let's retry. I'll just close a bunch of things. Yeah, so the test that assertion passed. If I had used text equals to 2 and then retried, then let's see what happens. So it is waiting, it is getting stuck on this line, I guess. Yeah, so let's just put text equals to 1, and I'll just remove this, and let's just test it normally, run test. Yeah, this is passing. So this is the first test where we are opening the command palette. Let's test that if we search for something that is visible, we can filter actions in command palette. So I'll make a test. Should be able to search for actions. And this is also a priority critical. So yeah, this part I still need. And then what I'll do is that I want to fill the input. And one thing is that the way my command palette is implemented is that when you open the command palette, it is already selected. The select menu is already focused. So when I type, when I start typing, it is already typing in that. So that means, so one thing I want to test is that as soon as the palette opens, if I start typing, it should filter, it should come here. It's not like focus. So when I write await.keyboard.fill, I think page.fill only. Yeah. So page.fill, if I, what was that? Let me just refer. Yeah, keyboard.type. So when I'm typing and I say GitHub. So I'm not specifying that I want to select the, I want that search text and then typing on that. I'm saying globally, just put this text. And this means whichever element is focused, it will receive all this content. So this way I'm asserting that my select menu is getting proper focus and it is receiving this text. And then if it received this text, that means that the only option, if I come here, if I open Command Palette and search for GitHub, only one action comes and it is this one. So I can see, assert that. So I can make an option locator, and that would be page.locator, and just to show more advanced, that role combo box, and in that I want a role option, and in that yeah, just I want a role option, right? And this is the option locator, and then I expect that dot count. So let me just pull out in separate variable, so I can say options num to await page dot count. So this will be a number. So if I remove await here, you can see it is a promise. So that's why I put await. So this is this, and then I can say options num should be 1. Let's see if this passes. Yeah, looks like this test is passing. And it's always a good practice to try to fail your test and see if it's still, it should fail. If I am making it fail, it should fail. Otherwise, my test is testing nothing. So let's see this time without opening. Yeah, this time it is erroring that you didn't open the command palette, so that search box didn't get the focus, and that's why something else, this GitHub content, it was not received by anyone. And so options locator, that won't be on. Actually, let me try the other thing, that I'll open the palette, but I will not type anything, and let's just see what is there. Yeah, so received is 14 when expected was 1. So this is a more proper example. So since I didn't type anything, there are 14 options available. But if I type and then execute this, it will know that only one option is coming. Yeah, so it is passing now. So this is there. And let's just also see that that action that is remaining, that should be the correct one. So I can come here, options locator. So expect options locator dot first. And actually this also, I think I need to pull out into a const first action. So what is this? Let's see. Yeah, this is also a locator. Okay, then I think I can just do this. So first, and this should have the text content. Should we go to GitHub repo? So, and I'll put a wait. Some typo. Okay, so since the action, it has multiple things, so it is saying the entire content is this much, and you are saying that it is this. So I think There's a partial text content match that we can do. Or yeah, so for that there is to contain text. Sorry. Now let's see. Yeah, text is passing. So yeah, and let me see if I'm missing anything. And one more thing, as just a extra example, I can show that this thing options locator, if I just move it before, right? I just open palette and I'm making a locator, and before here, before I type, I can say that if I make a count here, here I can say this will be 14. So again, you can see that I made a locator before. So had the execution happened here, uh, which, like if you use React testing library and all those, when you use the, when you get by text or anything, at that time the DOM node is found. So had it been that, then this would have said 14. But then next time when I ran the count, it would not have came one. It would have still said 14. But here, since when we run the count, at that moment the DOM was queried, so I can make a locator and then reuse it multiple times. There is no issues. So I'll just undo this part. So because of this reason, sometimes my end-to-end tests are shorter than my React testing library tests. So yeah, I think now we are done with the test. I'll just add this also. GC maintain consistency. Oh, this is my command palette. Wait, where is the workshop? This one. Cool. So this is written, and what else is left? Yeah. Okay. So this is a pretty cool feature of Playwright. Before I go with that, Kiran, are there any questions so far?
No.
Cool. So here's one more thing that I really like in Playwright. So suppose you are testing a real application, then probably it will have a login sign up login and all that. So most apps are like that. Only few pages are available without login, but the most of the app is only accessible when you log in. For example, let's see this is one website that Remix people they implemented. So if I go to this page uh, and click read jokes, it says there are no jokes. But actually, I'm logged in. I log out, and if I go to the jokes page, so it will say there are no jokes to display, and you need to log in. Or if I click add your own, then it will say you must be logged in. So this is one thing. So suppose I am testing, like there are hundreds of things that are there when I log in. Now for each, do I need to go through this login page again and again? Uh, that will make my test slow. Like every test, first it needs to fill this form, click this submit button, API, wait for API call to complete, and then only it can start with the actual assertions, right? That will be very slow. So here's the cool feature in Playwright. Uh, so, so one thing is that you can open a page and just explore it. You don't have to start with writing a test. Like I can say that npx playwright open and just this page, right? And it will open this page with this thing, and I can just interact with the page. So I can fill the form and I can submit it. So this is like, it shows everything that is there. I could even record it. So here, if I again log out and I fill this IT Aditya, so you can see it is finding all these things, right? So I could copy it and make a test for the login page. So this is also a nice thing that you can start exploring with the page and you don't need to write a test. You just click around and whatever comes you can record. Now here's a cool thing. I can what I can also do is that so I will say that I want to open the page, and whatever I do after that, store the whatever is in the storage, store it in auth.json. So here's what happens. So I come here. Since the browser is new, even though I logged in last time, it is not there. If I come to the home page, it is not going to be there. Like I'll be logged out. Every test, like the browser is totally independent. There is like this is incognito. What happened? Looks like that crashed. So I'll just open once more. So this is the thing. So I can come here. I can say I can fill my form, and once I submit, then you will see that in the storage, there's cookies. Yeah, there is some session that is being maintained here, and nothing in local storage or here. Yeah, mostly it's in the cookies. So this is the session that is being there. And once I close this browser, I'll see that a new file has been generated. If I come here, auth.json, it has that cookies. So whatever auth state was created, it is stored now in this JSON file. Now I can say that instead of say storage, I can open this page with this storage. So I can say load storage, and instead of the, let me just copy from there. So now earlier when I was visiting the jokes page, it was telling me to log in. See what happens now. See, the starting state is the logged in one. So if I, just to show, if I don't put the load storage here, so you can see it is asking me to log in. And if I use the load storage, yeah, so it is coming. So that way what you can do is that you can have your 2-3 tests which are just logging in, and you, if you have, suppose you have different roles, so you can have your test that log in as admin, log in as finance manager, and all these things, and then you can get a auth state for each, and then you can do for rest of the test, you can just load whichever session you want and test. You can even do this, that you can create 2 sessions in the same test. That is also possible in Playwright, and for each you can use the different auth state. So in your test you can say both people are logged in their different sessions, and one can transfer money to the other by clicking the form, and you can see that other person received it or not. All that is possible in Playwright, and you don't have to log in again and again. You do, had it been a single session, you first had to log in with admin, then transfer the money, log out, then log in as a different person, and check. So that would have been so hectic. Now it is not there. And so right now I'm just using the open command. Let's just generate a test to create the auths. So right, what happened was that to create the storage state, I had to open the browser and manually fill the form. How about I make a test run for that? So what I'll do is that I'll say Playwright. This is the code gen command. I will say that whatever I do, create a E2E jokes auth spec file, and this is the URL you need to open. Cool. I'll run this. It will open the browser. So here I'll fill the form. I'll submit and I'll just close the browser. Cool. And see, this is a file that has been generated. So it goes to the login page. So I don't need to click this username. And I'll remove this part also. I just fill the username and I don't need to press the tab key. I'll just fill the password and then I just press submit. Cool. And here's one thing. I will say that after this is done, just a command for that. So I'll delete this auth.json file and tell this test to make that file. And I'll say that test auth page. And I'll just say flow equals to auth. So that way, all my tests that are going through the login page and creating different states, I can target them with the flow auth. Cool. So this is a test. This is whatever is running. It is putting that in storage state, and this is the password that I'm using. So let's just run this. npx playwright test. I don't want to run it in the headed mode. I'll just say grep equals to flow auth and just see. So, okay, one more thing. I don't want to run it in multiple browser. I'll just say project equals to Chromium. I think I forgot the syntax. Let me just. Looks correct. Is happening. Browser protocol error. Test. So let's see if I make the pass the file name, then something happens. One thing, context, correct. Let me try one more thing. Page.context.
Do you have to put away?
Don't think so. Like, but I'll put maybe. Oh, right. Looks like I made a mistake there. So yeah, this happened. And then if I see jokes or .json is here, but why is there nothing? Context. Hmm. Don't know, something I must have broken. So anyways, so basically this is the idea that you have the auth state. So let me just generate it with the open command. So I'll just open and I'll say storage this, and I'll manually do this part. Once this is done, I'll just close it, and this should give me the auth.json. So what I'll do now is that in my test, when user is logged in, I'll say that I want to use the auth state. So auth.json, and then I'll visit this page. And here, let me just put await page.pause. So here, flow equals to app. So I'll run the npm run test. We want to run in headed mode. We want the project to be Chromium. And we want only to run the flow app test. What happened? Where is it? I'm running it in wrong place now. I'll just put the file name. Oh, sorry, npx playwright. Let me see one thing. Just is it creating jokes or no? It's still error. Okay. So what I'll do is that so right now I'm running all the tests because I removed the grep. I'll just add that back, and the flow equals to auth. Sorry, app. So you can see that when I open the test, it is in the logged in state. So for that, what I used is that I made a test. I'll say that whatever is in the describe, it should use this auth.json. And then every test, it just visits the URL and it is in logged in state. And I can do anything with that. So for some reason, the store state wasn't working. So for that, I just used I generated it using open command, but it should work. Like I have made it work in other places. Don't know what happened here. Yeah, so that's the end of it. Any questions now?
Maybe is that because of the promised at all?
Actually, let me just remove it. But actually, see, the submit is needed because after the navigation happens, only then it will get created.
Shouldn't that the wait for the navigation and the submit happens serially?
So yeah, that is some quirk with Playwright. I also have not full understanding of that. But there is a race condition where they are saying that if you click on this locator, right, and you have a await there, so then you have in next line you have a await wait for navigation. Then it can happen that the wait listener doesn't run before actually the navigation has happened. So it will it will miss it. So we are saying that we upfront starting that and we are doing this in parallel so that the wait for navigation won't be missed by this. So some quirk with them, not I also don't have full idea there.
Okay,
So
got it.
yeah, storage state. Let me just see. Meanwhile, people can start asking questions. I'll just search here. So for everything, they have good docs here, and for that, this authentication page is there. So yeah, the await was necessary, definitely. I'll just do one more thing. Wait to expect page. Yeah, cool. I'll stop sharing now.
Aditya, does this test run in parallel?
So for that, so one files test don't run in parallel. Multiple file test runs parallel, but and you can make it run in parallel. There are multiple ways. One is that in the describe block, you can say that describe.parallel. So only this describe blocks, all tests will run in parallel. Or you can say that in this entire file, test.describe.configure, and you can say that mode is parallel. So that way, all tests will run in parallel. Although one thing to note is that how many workers your CI machine have. Like if there are only few workers, 2 workers suppose, and you are trying to parallelize too many things, then it will be like the effort to parallelize them internally, the bookkeeping that Playwright has to do, that will be much higher. So it might take more time than to run them in serial. So that is also one thing.
Got it.
Only do it, yeah, when you have a lot of workers, then only go with test parallel. Otherwise, file parallelism is good enough. And also there is a thing called sharding. So close this. So you can also shard your test. The Playwright supports it by default, where you can just say that. So you can have your GitHub action run the test 3 times, and in a job matrix, and you can say first one receives these, first of third, second third, third by third. So that way, your GitHub, the server that GitHub is running, 1/3 of the test will run on one, and the other in parallel. So that way also there is parallelism.
Got it. And like for example, I want to generate that auth file and then run all the tests in parallel. So first I want to generate the file.
Yeah.
That's one action. And after that, I want to run all the tests in parallel. So that kind of control do I have?
Yeah, so there are multiple ways to do it. One is that global setup. So you can say that before running your test, you can run some commands, and then you can tell globally that for each test, use this storage state, right? So that is one way. The other way is that you can say that some of your tests, you can say flow equals to auth, and for rest of the tests, you can put anything, like you don't put any flow, suppose. So you say that grep flow equals to auth. Okay, so run test once with that, and once those are passing, then you run again and you say grep invert. So run all the tests except the auth ones.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, that will also work. And there might be other ways also.
Yeah.
They have this thing called fixtures, which is like you can make your internal reusable items, and that way also it could work. Haven't explored that much.
Got it.
A pretty advanced topic, this one. So essentially, like you can make a, you can extend the base and you can say these are the things I do, and then uh, in your test, instead of using the test from the import, you use this the new test that is being created using a fixture. Like instead of importing the test that Playwright gives, you use this version, and this has all your configuration happening. So you can say that when page is loaded, do these actions, and then you are using that one.
Got it. Got it.
Some random, like I had some things that some random nice features. You don't have to test UI, you can use it for API testing also. So it supports, so you can say that request.post and make that call and see if it, what is the response, is it okay or not. These things are there. Then there is one more feature, intersection. Not able to find it, but basically you can intercept requests, you can add your custom headers and all that thing. So suppose your test, you want to pass a header that uh, that this is the cookie, something like that cookie, or you want to uh, say that this is a beta user, or you have like for feature flag you are using some values, so you can pass all those things. And the one more feature they have good is that emulation. So uh, you can emulate devices with the viewport and user agent, and you can also set that permission, that what are the permissions with this browser. So suppose you want to test that how the app behaves if they have the notification permission, when they don't have the notification permission, is the application asking for the notification. And suppose you have some content that you show based on geolocation, so you can tell that also that this is the geolocation, this is the longitude, latitude. Yeah, so and all this is possible because Playwright is using the DevTools protocol, which gives entire access to the browser. The other architectures that are there for automation protocols, like the one I showed here, this is not feasible in those.
Yeah. Looks very interesting, man. I really like the developer experience.
Yeah, they are, yeah, like especially given that this is a new tool, still they are spending so much time on this. Uh, like some things are not even like, they have videos you can record. There are uh, what else is there, you can interact with uh, alerts and all that. So like they have built everything, and then on top of that, the DX they have built a lot.
Yes, proper end-to-end framework. So you don't have to use any other library for, I mean, as a test runner, as a session library for reporting.
Yeah,
So everything is
reporters they
built
have
in.
integrated with HTML reporter, dot reporter, and visual comparison is also there. So this is not that good, like you will need to do a lot of things on your from yourself, but still like they support this thing that you can take a screenshot of the page and compare it with a uh, photo that you have stored somewhere, and you can pass threshold, etc. But this is OS specific, like you can't compare a Mac image with the Windows image, it will look very different.
Does GitHub Actions run on Windows and
This
other devices?
I think they do, like Mac and Linux, they do. But the case I was talking about is that suppose uh, you are you are trying to compare your local photo with the GitHub's photo, so that would be
Yeah, yeah.
different. Uh,
Yes, got it.
like you have this thing that master's image you keep somewhere, and then you compare it with that one, so that will be a problem. So either your local machine you have to use Docker or something, so that you are also running on a Linux engine or something like that.
Got it.
Cool,
I think
let's
that
stop this.
yes. I think that's all we have. I think we don't have any questions on YouTube as well. Yeah, thanks, Aditya. This was really helpful.
For any questions, reach out to me on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks everyone. So I think that's all we have for now. I hope you learned a lot about the Playwright, and I find it really interesting. Looking forward to exploring more about this as well. Yeah, see you in our upcoming events. Stay tuned. See you again soon. Bye everyone. Bye Aditya. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Kiran. Bye, everyone.